Welcome to Chapter 15, The Walkaway Price, based on The Silent Creditor by Sam Prajnananda. In this chapter, we will discuss developing the reservation price as a strategic tool. First, what is GrioteWave? GrioteWave is a sovereign digital platform dedicated to creating, preserving, and distributing knowledge, music, and stories to awaken cultural memory and empower communities. In game theory, the reservation price is the absolute limit beyond which a party refuses a deal. Historically, Africa has lacked a credible reservation price due to the assumption that it cannot afford to stop selling raw materials for foreign exchange to service debt. The current price taker trap stems from desperation for foreign currency, creating a lack of leverage. To change this relationship, Africa must develop the power to say no, as the global north dictates terms, assuming Africa cannot survive a halt in exports. We propose a 30-day stop-flow simulation. This is a strategic calculation of dependency, not an emotional strike, testing the existential reliance of the global north on African raw atom exports for just 1 month. Vector 1 is energy blackout, focusing on uranium. Europe relies heavily on African uranium from Niger and Namibia for its nuclear grids. Since nuclear-grade uranium is a long lead asset, it cannot be quickly replaced elsewhere. The impact of this halt would be significant, such as dimming the French grid, which relies on nuclear power for about 70% of its electricity. A 30-day halt would trigger an immediate liquidity crisis in future contracting markets and force diplomatic renegotiation on African terms. Vector 2 is tech paralysis, involving cobalt and tantalum. Just-in-time manufacturing used by companies like Apple and Tesla has zero tolerance for supply gaps. DRC cobalt and tantalum are essential micro-inputs, and a 30-day gap could result in an 18-month production backlog. This would trigger a multi-trillion-dollar market correction in tech stocks, quantifying the, quote, cost of not having Africa on the NYSE. The leverage moves from the mine to the trading floor. Vector 3 is the hunger factor, focusing on phosphate. Morocco holds over 70% of the world's known phosphate reserves, essential for global fertilizers and food security. A 30-day halt would threaten the global food supply chain due to its hypersensitivity to price. The insolvency bluff suggests Africa would go bankrupt without daily export revenue. However, a massive portion of that revenue services external debt. If exports stop, the debt cannot be serviced, shifting the problem to the lender. The debt service paradox is that a coordinated stop flow acts as an automatic debt moratorium. Western financial systems are potentially more fragile than Africa's informal economies in this scenario. A reservation price requires a war chest or liquidity buffer. This means shifting reserves from U.S. treasuries, which can be frozen, into physical gold. 90 days of survival liquidity makes the walkaway price credible. The 1973 oil embargo case study shows how OPEC reordered global geopolitics by halting exports. Africa holds a broader basket of choke points, minerals, food, and energy, than the 1970s OPEC, offering strong leverage. One major risk is internal sabotage. If one nation stops production and another increases it, leverage fails. The global north is a master of divide and rule, requiring continental solidarity and enforcement to counteract this. Another risk is the elite exit. The comprador class may resist to protect offshore accounts. This requires leaders who fear their own youth bulge more than Western sanctions, with a strong social contract being the best defense against economic war. Calculating the reservation price should be based on the systemic replacement cost to the manufacturer, not just mining cost plus tax. If changing chemistry costs $10,000 per car, Africa's price for lithium should be $9,999. In conclusion, leverage is in what you can afford to keep, not what you sell. This shifts Africa from a master-servant relationship to a business partnership. Keeping minerals in the ground becomes a tool for industrialization. Key strategic action steps include creating a, quote, stop-flow simulation office to publish impact reports on Western job losses. Also, establishing a strategic resource reserve to store minerals and manipulate spot prices, and organizing a unified contract expiry. Please like this video to help others find this content. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a deep dive. Share this with a friend or colleague who needs to see this. Thank you for watching. For further exploration of this topic, please refer to The Silent Creditor.